Okay, so you have watched the videos. You know about the G-spot. You have probably even tried the come hither technique. Finger inside, curl toward the front wall, drag slowly. And it works. Women respond to it. Orgasms happen from it. But here's what none of those videos told you. The come hither technique is hitting one zone out of 3. Yes, 1 out of 3. There are 2 other zones inside a woman's body that are sitting there receiving absolutely nothing while you are working the G-spot. And those 2 zones, the entry zone and the A-spot, produce sensations that the G-spot alone cannot get close to. When all 3 are engaged at the same time, what she experiences is so far beyond what she has ever felt that most women cannot even describe it properly afterward. And here's the thing I need you to really hear. Erica, a woman who has experienced all 3 zones engaged simultaneously, who has felt what her body is actually capable of, does not go looking for it somewhere else. She does not need to, because most men on the planet have no idea this exists. And the man who gives it to her becomes the standard that nobody else can reach. I am Valerie Hayes, sex therapist based right here in the US. And if you are a man in your 50s or 60s who wants to know how to genuinely show up for a woman in a way that she will never forget, this channel is built specifically for you. Hit subscribe, join the tribe. This is what I put out every week, and you do not want to miss what is coming. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, let me explain what these 3 zones actually are first, because once you see what each one does inside her body, the technique makes complete sense, and you will never look at this the same way again. The first zone is the entry zone. This is the vaginal opening in the first inch of the canal, and most men treat this area like a doorway, somewhere you pass through to get somewhere more interesting. Big mistake, because the entry zone is packed with nerve endings, more concentrated nerve endings per square inch than almost anywhere deeper inside. When this area receives pressure and deliberate attention, the sensation is immediate and intense. A surface pleasure that is sharp and vivid in a way that deeper stimulation cannot replicate. And the reason most men completely miss this zone is simple. Once the finger is inside and curling toward the G-spot, the entry zone is behind them. The come hither motion pulls away from it entirely. So all those nerve endings, wow, mine's sitting right there at the entrance, receive nothing while everything else gets worked. She is feeling 60% of what she could be feeling from the very first moment. Now, the second zone. You already know this one, but I want to make sure you actually understand it. The G-spot area, 1 to 2 inches inside on the front wall. The wall facing upward when she is on her back. When she is fully aroused, the tissue here becomes slightly ridged and textured compared to the smooth walls around it. You can feel the difference. And when this tissue is worked with the right rhythm and the right pressure, it produces that deep radiating sensation that spreads through the front wall and into the belly. You know this one. This is the one all the videos talked about. And yes, it is real and it is powerful. But it is the middle zone of 3, and working the middle zone in isolation, while the first and third zones receive nothing, you are giving her a fraction of what is actually available, right? The third zone, the A spot. And this is the one almost nobody talks about. The one that changes everything. The A spot, anterior fornix, sits further inside than the G spot, past the midpoint of the vaginal canal in the deeper region just before the cervix. And when it is reached correctly, it produces sensations that women describe as completely different from G-spot stimulation. Deeper, more full body, something that spreads from the inside out and keeps spreading. Women who have experienced correct A-spot stimulation describe a feeling of being completely filled from within, a deep warmth and pressure that the G-spot simply cannot reach. Now, I need to say something important about the A-spot, because this is where men make a serious mistake. Right next to the A-spot is the cervix, and the cervix, when hit with force before sufficient arousal, produces sharp pain, not pleasure. The A-spot produces its response through gentle, rhythmic tapping and light pressure. Patient, deliberate, attentive contact. When it is approached that way, what she feels sits right at the edge, overwhelming, but stays on the right side. Deep warmth, a fullness that builds, something she has never felt from the come hither alone. When it is approached carelessly, too fast, too hard, too soon, all she gets is pain, and she never wants you near that area again. So you understand the difference. When you go gentle and rhythmic to the A-spot, everything opens. And when you force to the cervix, everything closes. So that's the 3 zones: entry, G-spot, A-spot, each producing a distinct experience, each contributing a layer that the others cannot replicate alone. And the come hither motion, as good as it is, gives her one of the 3. Now, I want to tell you what it actually feels like from inside her body when only one zone is being worked, because this is the part most men have never considered. When only the G-spot is being stimulated, even when it is done well, the sensation builds in one place. It radiates from that front wall, and it can be genuinely intense, but her nervous system adapts to it. The sensation plateaus. It stops building and just stays at a level, and she can orgasm from it, yes, but the orgasm has a ceiling. Now imagine all 3 zones engaged simultaneously. Her nervous system is receiving signals from 3 distinct locations at the same time. Entry zone, front wall, deep zone. And here's the thing about receiving signals from 3 places at once. Those signals do not compete. They amplify. The entry sensation travels toward the G-spot response. The G-spot response deepens what the A-spot is producing, and what she feels is one experience that is larger than any of the 3 alone by a significant margin. Women who have experienced 3-zone stimulation describe a fullness, a feeling of being completely engaged internally, with nowhere left that is not receiving attention. And the orgasm that builds from that state rises from everywhere at once, deeper, more whole body, less like a localized spike and more like a wave. See, and the recovery time is longer because her nervous system has been activated more comprehensively than it has ever been before. That is what we are building toward. Now you'd notice how careful I am with my wordings to avoid triggering the YouTube platforms. They don't want explicit content here. So the explicit mechanics, exactly how to position yourself, how to read her body as you build through the 3 zones, and how to coordinate this technique with external clitoral stimulation. That level of detail lives in Valerie Uncensored, my private newsletter, explicit, specific, completely unfiltered. Everything I cannot finish here, I finish there. Link is in the description. That is where the real instruction lives. Okay, back to it. Now let's look at the technique itself. And the first thing you need to understand is that this requires your hand in a completely different position from the come hither, because the come hither works with a bent, curled finger, hooked toward the front wall, dragging back and forth across the G-spot, precise and targeted. But with the finger bent that way, the A-spot is completely out of reach, and the entry zone is behind the knuckle. For 3-zone stimulation, your hand needs to be straight, fully extended, flat inside her rather than curled toward one wall. When your hand is straight and fully inside, here's what happens. The fingertip reaches toward the A-spot region at the deepest point. The middle section of your finger, the inner surface, presses against the G-spot tissue along the front wall, and the base of your finger, where it meets your palm, engages the entry zone. One hand position, all 3 zones contacted simultaneously. Now, preparation is everything with this technique. Everything. She has to be fully aroused before your hand goes anywhere near the A-spot. The tissue in all 3 zones needs to be engorged and alive. The A-spot specifically will produce discomfort instead of pleasure if her body has not been sufficiently warmed up. So you give her real time, 20 minutes of whole body attention before your hand enters her. This is not optional with this technique. It is the entire foundation. And when you do enter, you start with 1 finger, slowly, gently, middle finger, because it is the longest and you need the reach for the deeper zone. You enter slowly and you let your hand settle fully inside with the finger extended straight, and then you pause. You just let her feel it. The sensation of 3 zones receiving your presence simultaneously, entry engaged at the base, front wall contacted along the inner surface, deeper tissue felt at the tip, is already different from anything the come hither gives her, and she will feel that difference immediately. Now, the movement, and this is important. The movement is not the come hither. And it is not in and out thrusting. It is a slow, firm, circular rotation. Your hand staying fully inside. Your finger maintaining contact with all 3 zones. Your whole hand rotating in slow, deliberate circles. Or alternatively, a gentle rocking motion. Your hand staying straight, moving just enough that each zone feels a rhythmic change in pressure rather than constant, unchanged contact. You see, the key is pressure and consistency. You are not moving fast. You are pressing firmly and consistently against all 3 zones simultaneously, and this slow rotation or rocking ensures that each zone receives rhythmic stimulation, something the body stays awake to, rather than static pressure that adapts and fades. As she becomes more responsive, as her hips start to move toward your hand, as her breathing changes, you can increase the firmness of your pressure slightly. You follow her body, her breathing tells you, the way she presses into your hand tells you, the sounds she makes tell you, and you follow what she gives you rather than following a script. Now, 1 finger is powerful with this technique, but 2 fingers is where things shift to another level entirely. When you have established the technique with 1 finger, when you have confirmed your hand position is right, that she is responding to the 3-zone pressure, that the angle works for her body specifically, you add the 2nd finger, pointer and middle finger together, extended straight. You partially withdraw, bring the 2nd finger alongside the 1st and re-enter with both slowly. Let her body adjust to the fuller presence. Give her a moment. And then when both fingers are fully inside and the movement resumes, both extended straight, both pressing across all 3 zones simultaneously, The wider surface area changes everything. More contact across all 3 zones at once. More pressure against the front wall. More presence at the entry zone. And 2 fingers together pressing toward the A spot creates a fullness that 1 finger simply cannot produce. You see, the transition from 1 finger to 2 needs to be timed right. You make it when her body is asking for it, when her responses have built to a level where she is pressing actively toward you, when the sounds she is making have lost their self-consciousness, when you can feel the tissue under your fingers is fully alive. That is the moment. Early is wrong. Right is when her body cannot wait for more. And when both fingers are inside and the 3-zone technique is fully engaged, that is when most women reach the level of arousal that produces a different quality of orgasm than they have ever had. But it does not stop there. And because there is one more thing that takes everything you have just built to the highest level available, your other hand. While your dominant hand is working all 3 internal zones, your free hand comes to the clitoris. And I want to explain why this is not just adding something extra, why this specific combination changes the nature of the experience entirely. The internal arms of the clitoris wrap around the vaginal walls. They are directly adjacent to and connected with the tissue. Your fingers are working internally. So when you stimulate the external clitoris at the same time as the 3 internal zones, you are stimulating both ends of the same structure simultaneously. External at the tip, internal along the arms. The clitoris receiving stimulation from outside and inside at the same time. And those 2 signals arriving at the clitoral structure from both directions at once, they do not add together. They multiply. What she experiences is the blended orgasm, the one that rises from everywhere at once, the one that spreads rather than spikes. The one women say is the most intense sexual experience available to them. The one that takes significantly longer to recover from because her nervous system has been activated so comprehensively. Alright, the key to making the blended technique work is coordination. Both hands need to be working in the same rhythm. The internal technique, slow, firm, consistent. The external thumb or fingertips circling the clitoris, slow, patient, same pace. Both building together, not competing, not one racing ahead of the other. And here is the thing men most often get wrong at this point. When she starts responding, when her body tells you it is building towards something, the instinct is to go faster. More pressure, more speed. Match the energy she is giving you. Resist that completely. Hold your rhythm. Both hands, exactly what you've been doing. The same pace, the same pressure, the same consistency. Her body has found the path. It does not need you to change anything. It needs you to stay exactly where you are while it arrives where it is going. Change anything at that moment. Go faster, add pressure, alter the angle, and you interrupt the signal her nervous system is locked onto. The build resets, and she has to start again from lower down. Hold everything. Let her arrive. Now, a few things you need to know as you take all of this forward. Every woman's internal anatomy is positioned slightly differently. Are the depth of the G-spot, the location of the A-spot, the sensitivity of the entry zone. These are not identical from woman to woman. So the first time you try this technique, you are mapping, not performing. You are learning her specific geography. And what you discover in that first session becomes the foundation for everything that follows. and pay attention to which zone she responds to most strongly. Some women, the entry zone stimulation is the primary driver. That combination of surface sensation with deeper pressure is what tips everything over for them. Some women, the A-spot contact is the most significant factor. The deep fullness is what produces the most intense response. And for others, the G-spot engagement is still the core of it. But now with the other two zones amplifying it from both sides, her body will tell you. Your job is to listen. Now, this technique takes practice in a way that the come hither alone does not. The come hither is targeted and specific. This technique asks you to maintain hand position, pressure, and rhythm across 3 zones at the same time while reading her response and adjusting in real time. The first few times, it will feel like a lot to coordinate. That is normal. Keep going, because here is what she's going to feel when you get it right. She is going to feel something she has probably never felt before. Not a better version of what she has had. A fundamentally different experience. The orgasm that builds from 3-zone stimulation and blended clitoral engagement rises from a completely different place than the single-zone orgasm she is used to. It is not an incremental improvement. It is a different category. And a woman who has experienced that once properly, with patience and presence and the technique fully working, does not go looking for it somewhere else. She knows where it comes from. She knows who gave it to her. And she knows that most men walking around out there have no idea this is even possible. You came into this video knowing 1 zone. You are leaving with 3. The entry zone, dense with nerve endings that the come hither never touches. The G-spot, which you knew, but now you understand as part of a system rather than a solo destination. And the A-spot, the deep zone almost nobody reaches, producing a fullness and an intensity that changes what orgasm means for her. Engage all 3. Keep your hand straight. Build to 2 fingers when she is ready. Add the external clitoral stimulation. Or hold your rhythm when she starts to respond. And give her what nobody else is giving her. If you want the explicit, fully detailed version of everything in this script, the exact hand positions, the specific signals to read, how to coordinate both hands in real time, and what the A-spot response actually looks and feels like as it builds, join Valerie Uncensored. Link is in the description. That is where I take all of this all the way. I am Valerie Hayes. I will see you in the next one.